Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor and I help people navigate through their awakening process. And this video is going to share some ways that you can quiet those racy thoughts to chill out the incessant stream of egoic thinking that a lot of you are now aware of because you're awakening. A lot of people associate expanding their awareness, their consciousness, enlightenment, awakening with a lessening of the ego finally shutting the hell up, and now your divine light can shine through. And though that is sort of the direction you're heading in, the way to do that is you first become aware of it. So the more you awaken, it's the louder your egoic thoughts appear, the more clearly seen for how dysfunctional they are and have always been, you'll experience. You'll realize how neurotic and fear-based and illogical and defensive they are. And it's sort of annoying. It's like when I go to sleep at night, it bugs me if there's a ceiling fan on that like ding, that makes like a little click, or if it's not like perfectly on track, I can hear the little psst, 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 and it drives me nuts. When you start to awaken, an analogy would be where that fan is like ka-gong, 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 ka-gong. You just can't shut it up. You can't ignore it. You can't even tune it out. Whereas before, eventually I would fall asleep. Even though that noise would bug me, I'd eventually fall asleep, but the fan gets so freaking loud and you wonder like, what the hell is going on? I'm awakening, man. I'm meditating, I'm more spiritual, and now this I'm gonna freaking throw this fan out the window, but you can't. That fan never shuts up. It's always there. And there are times in your life where it is just on overdrive. It's just obnoxious. Your thoughts are running faster and louder than you can even keep up with. You might find it hard just to kind of function. And the idea of meditating, going in when all this insanity is going on in your head, it's just the idea of it drives you nuts. And you start to really drive yourself crazy. And everyone has, not everyone, but I get a lot of people asking, how do I stop it? How do I quiet it? How do I shut it up? How do I control it? How do I tame my ego? How do I silence my racy thoughts? And I'm going to share with you how to do that, even though the goal of doing that in and of itself is quite a barrier, because you're not going to control it. Your ego has a limitless amount of energy and only grows and feeds off of your resistance to it. So here we go. Number one is acceptance, non-resistance. Don't even bother wasting your time and energy trying to control it, trying to extend the periods of silence without thought in your mind. In doing so, you will only amplify the intensity on all levels of that egoic train of thought. You just have to learn to accept it. And the acceptance, oftentimes in and of itself, reduces and diminishes the intensity of it. You have to kind of understand why it's there. And you're seeing it now because you're waking up. And that's a good thing, because before that all went down, you had those types of thoughts, only you were more hypnotized and seduced by them and actually thought they were you talking in your own head. But now you're seeing them as other, as foreign, as now it's not Victor's thoughts, it's the ego, the annoying and dysfunctional, albeit ego, but it's not me. And that is profound, that discernment between who you actually are, the witness, the observer of the ego, versus the ego, which most people think they are, and then they react accordingly. You're seeing how freaking crazy and dysfunctional this thing is, and it is disturbing that you're sort of trapped with it side by side for quite a length of time at varying intensities and intervals. But the fact that, again, you can discern it as something other than you is profound, and it means you're on the process of transcending it and integrating it and embodying a state of actual spiritual enlightenment. So just accept it's going to be there for as long as it needs to be, long enough for you to essentially listen to what it's saying to you. Usually it's just the cries of your inner child, your inner part of you that has been wounded and stepped on and beat up throughout life is saying, I'm still in pain, I'm still wounded, you haven't acknowledged me, and I'm going to keep driving you nuts until you finally acknowledge me. And that's step two. Step two is sort of what I just got into, is self-inquiry. When your thoughts race, when you find yourself having an illogical mental response to a situation, rather than saying, oh God, that stupid ego, say, what? You have more compassion with it. Again, that's just a manifestation of your wounded self. You just ask it, what's the deal? Okay, I walked into work and I'm already kind of having a crummy day, and then I'm getting like, it seems like everyone around is picking on me. Everyone's kind of giving me shit today, and I'm already in a funk, and the ego is just going nuts about it. You ask, well, what's the deal? Why do you feel so offended by these people? That wasn't the greatest example, but I think you guys understand what I'm saying. Have more sympathy for your ego and try to get to the bottom of what it's trying to say and why it's so going off of the mouth so much. And this is just a basic enlightenment technique where you just go inside and try to get clear about these aspects of yourself longing to be expressed and seen from a conscious perspective. I know that sounded kind of confusing, but again, what can help quiet the ego is to get to the source of why the ego is so bent out of shape in this particular circumstance in the first place. And oftentimes when you can see the connection, you can see, I can see now why you're upset. I can see now why you feel so defensive in the face of this nice old man who just asking me a simple question. Why I can see now why your initial reaction was that of resistance and like, who's this guy? Even though he's a nice person. It's because when you were a young kid, some older guy was very mean to you. Maybe it was a teacher or a counselor or a principal or something like that. But as you build these connections, you're essentially retraining your ego and letting it know it doesn't have to respond that way, because this is a new situation and it doesn't have to keep reliving the past. So acceptance and then sympathy / self-inquiry so far. And thirdly is just meditation. Do things in your life that make you more meditative. I say it a lot, and it's probably getting a bit old to some of you who watch me every day. Like, oh wow, meditate again. Wow. You don't have to do formal meditation, but find a way to enter the meditative state, which is in a sense where you embody more fully the state of the observer, where you grow that distance between yourself, your true light, who you are, and the ego chatter. And then it has less of an effect on you. The problem is when the ego chatter gets closer and closer and closer, it can easily, we all do it sometimes, it takes you over. And you find yourself reacting from this negative egoic entity that is now embodied you. But meditation, slowly but surely over time, pushes it away. It doesn't make it disappear. It doesn't shut it up. It does, in a sense, dim it and quiet it a little bit. But from this safer distance, you can look at it more like, again, with more sympathy, like, oh wow, this poor guy's just in pain. He's just afraid. He's still holding on to the past. And now, with all this distance, all this consciousness that I've been cultivating through my daily meditation practice, I can now see with more clarity, sufficiently to reorganize and reintegrate myself and reprogram myself essentially to not automatically respond from the egoic perspective. So that's, I don't know, sometimes during this video when I was talking, I felt like what I was saying sounded very confusing. So I'm going to rewatch this and decide if I want to post this. But essentially what I'm really trying to say is that resisting the ego is futile. It will not get you anywhere but a louder, more pissed off egoic identity right there by your side, right when you wake up in the morning. It's going to be there. Oh, hey, remember me? Until you finally pass out and fall asleep. You have to accept its existence, take responsibility for why it's so bent out of shape. Most of us have been living lives fairly unconsciously, picking up baggage as we go along, and now it's just saying, here, I'm louder, so maybe you'll finally recognize me and deal with all these issues I'm reflecting for you. And then in doing so, combine with just some sort of daily meditative practice, whether it be traditional meditation or painting or going for a walk in nature. Doesn't matter, whatever puts you in that state, do more of that, and you'll be able to do this process with less resistance and less stress, and it'll just be easier and more obvious to you. So I hope that helps. I get that question all the time, and it's just easier to make a video about it in case any of you guys also have that question yourself. So again, I hope that helps. Have an amazing day, guys. I will speak to you tomorrow. Namaste.